What's up, YouTube family? How you doing? On the replay, I am super excited to be back with another music mentorship. It's a midday music mentorship. We've been late night the last few times I think, but we're in a midday mentorship today. So um, like, subscribe, send this out to some people if you want to, and let's get into it. So I titled today's video, and I'm gonna be real short. I say that every time, right? And but I titled today's video "Know Yourself." Know yourself. Um, this is under the premise that I believe that as a music artist, you must know what works for you. You must know what works for you and what doesn't work for you. I think there are times when we can try to position ourselves in a way. Um, Father, you do the speaking of the day if you want to. I'm yielded, but there is times where we would like to position ourselves, um, and in an attempt to be teachable, in an attempt to be those who don't want to seem prideful, in an attempt to be those that don't want to seem stuck in our ways, we'll attempt approaches that don't actually work for who it is we've been designed to be and the type of expression we've been called and created to carry, right? So with your expression, there may be certain ins and outs about how that works and what works with that, certain musical, you know, things that work. You have a sound. There's a sound. You know what gets the job done. You know what you've cultivated in a private place, right? You can see this evidenced in the story of David, where in First Samuel chapter 17, I believe, where David is going to take his brothers a lunch or something, and they're in a battle. The army of Israel is in a battle with the Philistines, and really at that point they're really coming up really against one Philistine by the name of Goliath of Gath, right? And when David gets there, he's like, "What's going on?" You're like, what's this? What's happening here? And long story short, he gets the rundown, blah blah blah. He's like, I'll take it on. And here it is. They try to put Saul's armor on David in order for him to go into the battle. And David is basically like, yeah, this ain't, he literally said, it basically essentially says, this ain't me. I can't, this ain't gonna work for me. This armor, no, 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 no. Give me what I know I can work with. So he has five smooth stones, I think it says, that's the way it reads, and he has a sling, uh, you know, um, and he goes, and the rest is history. We know what happens in the story of David and Goliath. He slays the giant, and God is glorified, and David is exalted in the eyes of a people. It also puts him in a bit of a place with Saul, King Saul, because then there is there is a song or something that is made or whatever, and it says Saul has killed his thousands, David his tens of thousands, and it makes Saul jealous. It makes Saul angry, and Saul then sets out to kill David. Amen. Few principles out of that is David knew what worked for him and what didn't. And you, as a musician, a singer, a music artist, a songwriter, a producer, you have to know what works for you. A rapper, you have to know what works for you and what doesn't. A performer, have to know what works for you and what doesn't. You cannot go into battle, and it is that when you step on a stage, you are entering into a battlefield. Yes, you are. When you step onto a stage, when you step onto any platform, when you step up to the plate to present, publicly or present what you've got. You are attributing a tool or a piece of a fight in a war, in a battle, and you've got to realize that your musical artistry uh is an art form, but it is also warfare. Right? It is also warfare. This is a spiritual war we are in, and you, as a musical artist, have a responsibility to that spiritual war to be, especially as a Christian musical artist. Let's talk again. Who I'm talking to, a Christian musical artist, you have a responsibility to side with the one who is Lord of your life, who is the Christ, Yeshua, Jesus, and Yahweh, who is God, right? And you have a responsibility to contribute to this side of the battlefield and give what it is God has given to you, whatever weapon is in your hand. If your weapon is your singing voice, your weapon is your pen. Some of you are wielding swords in those pens, and God is going to use that mightily. Some of you are wielding weapons of mass destruction in your computers that you make your beats and you produce your tracks in, and all that stuff. Your instruments are weapons, all the nine. It's all a weapon of warfare, and God is exposing you to that reality today. For some of you, you didn't think of it like that, but He's exposing you to that reality today because He wants you to understand again the importance of what it is you carry as a musical artist. It's not just for happenstance that you know feel compelled to move into this sphere. God is raising up a legion of musical deliverers. He's raising up um, a, an army with musical artistry at the forefront of their specialty in war, right? Your war specialty may be musical artistry, but that is what's going on. So we see that David knew exactly. This is a little more Bible preachy than I intended for it to be, but we see that David knew um, that those methods, when we talk about Saul's armors, that method we can talk about and kind of pull it over into this and say those methods, the methods of others, the approach of others, the even older others like predecessors, even some mentors, even some that you could glean wisdom from, I guess, at a certain point, but there comes a point where following another person's example to a T isn't the wisest thing to do. Sometimes you follow the principle within the example, but you don't actually do the exact same practice. There's a difference there. Sometimes I can't practice the exact same thing or do it the exact same way, use that same method, but I will take the principle that undergirds the practice, right? And but as a performer, as an artist, as a whatever you're doing there, you've got to know, hey, this type of band, you got to know that. I know that's weird, but like this type of software don't work for me. This particular type of thing, and it's not saying you're not open to learning, but it is saying I know what works for me, and I know what I've spent time learning, and I know, like, you'd be surprised how much people can get done with certain things that other people would never dare use. They'd be like, oh yeah, this song then touched about 100,000 people. You're like, how did you make this? Oh yeah, I did this on my phone. What? Yeah, man, GarageBand. It's like, whoa. No, you didn't. Yes, I did. Because it just works for me. David basically said, um, I've taken care of uh the sheep by fighting lions and bears, if I'm correct, in private places. This Philistine is gonna fall just like they did. God empowered me to do that. He gonna empower me to do this, and I don't have to use that method. I will do it the way that I know to do it. You got to know yourself, though. You got to know what works. You got to know what doesn't. I personally am the same way. I am a guy, and I just had this conversation yesterday. I sing and play, but I know strongly that one of my most impactful spaces is when I don't have to sit behind a keyboard and I can actually I'm a worship leader. I can actually sing. I can stand at a microphone and just do the thing that way. Now I can play. There are also moments I also know as a keyboard player what some of my most impactful. I know myself. So I know and knowing myself is not being so enamored with myself. It's knowing how God has wired me and how he has stationed me to pour into spaces that I've been called to. Some of my more impactful spaces as a keyboardist is to play during prayer. I'm a very strong flowy guy in general. So those what we call prophetic flows and all that stuff, I'm in there all the time, all day long. If you give me, there are certain points you can give me certain songs and I'll we'll navigate them, but I thrive in spaces where what if you take it out of church terminology, that space of improvisation, I think it's the word, and flow. That space is where I thrive. Just let me go, and we gonna find a space in the air. Hallelujah. And I have fought at different points in my story with that reality. I feel your power, but I don't know what's going on. I have fought at different points with that in my story, and um yeah, it just is what it is, and I'm not always able to just sit in certain settings and play through those moments, but whenever I am, God is faithful to show up. And yeah, excuse me. um and singing wise too, it's same thing. I thrive in spaces where I'm not too constricted. Some people thrive in spaces where they know exactly what they're going to do next. You got to have a specific set list. You got to do X Y and Z this way, and that is the way, and God can lead you that way as well. But you thrive in specific settings where we got to be like this. We got to sing this song like this way every time. We got to do these songs in this specific order. Every show we got to do X, Y, and Z. This is how my process of recording for people is, and producing a record, a project is. It has to be dot 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 dot. Some people thrive like that, and you can't let people force you out of what works for you, because at that point you can honestly turn down. Here it is, we got to get a healthy dose of, if God designed me for this, then my approach will be what is needed, and if he didn't, then I might miss some money, but I will not sacrifice, one, the integrity of what I've been called to carry, to the quality of what I can produce when I'm doing it in the way that I'm graced to do it. And secondarily, no, thirdly, um, the quality of the actual person's, as a producer, I'm not going to sacrifice the quality of your project because I just wanted to make money producing it. Or as a performer, in real life performance, I'm not going to waste your time saying I'm gonna do this and I'm giving you a half-tailed performance. I'm giving you half-tailed, you know, y- singing. I'm not. My heart ain't there. My mind ain't really there. It's not really something I'm able to do. I'm not the person for the job, so I won't pretend to be the person for the job. And we got to stop being so. scared we're going to miss out on money, that we don't maximize the opportunities that we have, and even are integral enough to say, hey, this is not something I think I have. Now, if you want this out of me, glory to your name, if you want this out of me, I can give you this, but I cannot, I will not. And I just, it's not something, you don't want me to give you this. Whatever you thought you wanted me for, when you saw me, I was in my element. If you take me out of my element because you saw the talent, but didn't realize the grace that was driving the talent, if you take me out of that grace space, the talent is going to fall flat. I might still be able to hit some runs, but you won't feel it the way that you should. And that's why you're bringing me. That's why you want me to do the thing. I can play chords. I can play the drums. I can do some fills, and I can, I can do XYZ, but you won't feel it the same way you felt it on the video that caused you to, or the service, or the whatever the space was, the concert that caused you to want to call for me. Because in that setting, I was in my element. In this setting, you're trying to force my talent to fit your agenda, and the grace for your agenda is not with me. So yeah, know yourself. You won't miss out. Okay? You won't miss out. Stop being so hungry for money. Anyways, I'll maybe be back on later for part two. But that's all. That's all. I just wanted you to get that much, and I hope you have an amazing day. Again, that is a thing. You can join us in the Inspired Ones community. We'll do more of this. I might finish this teaching in there or something. But yeah, we might do this again later today, though. I want to hit something. So I love y'all. We'll talk. We'll talk.